Hi, this is Miss Andrea, and I am at the Children's Museum in Houston, our Eco Station. I'm one of the STEM educators here, and I am going to be bringing you a project that is sponsored by the Hamill Foundation and Wells Fargo. And today's project is, I kind of did it for Thanksgiving, sort of. I wanted to talk to you guys about wild turkeys, and there is a difference between wild turkeys and the turkey that ends up usually on your dinner table on Thanksgiving. Wild turkeys are much different. So the project today is actually a wind spinner. Woo! It's kind of like a wind vane, and he's really kind of silly. I like silly stuff, and I like things that move and have a little bit more challenge to them. I'm really hoping that you enjoy this project. So let's get started. Okay, so for today's project, these are some of the supplies that you'll need. The most important thing is 2 water bottles. You need 2 water bottles, a drill, or you can use a nail also. You heat up a nail and put it through. Now, having said that, remember that science and art is fun, but it can be dangerous, so you want to make sure you have an adult to help you with those parts. So some of these tools are for the adults to use. I have some box cutter, scissors, pliers, hot glue gun. Beads are optional, feathers are optional, and then I have some paint. So the last thing that you'll need is something to mount your wind vane on, your turkey spinner on. I used a coat hanger, a metal coat hanger, but you can use a dowel or another piece of metal that you find. You just want to make sure that your hole is bigger than the wire. So the drill bit you use needs to be bigger than the wire that you have. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is we want to peel the paper off of our water bottle. It's fairly easy. Most of these water bottles are about the same, so the brand doesn't really matter. If you look on these bottles, you'll see that there's these little grooves kind of here that run along the side. So this is what's going to help us. If you want to kind of paint yours the way that I painted mine, I'm going to guide you on how to do that. So you want to look and see this little groove that's here. If you look on the opposite side, there's not one there. But this is what's going to help you paint some of the beak and all of those things based on what I did. So you go to the opposite end of that, and you're going to take a box cutter or something sharp, maybe some scissors, and you're going to poke a little hole through it. Right across, directly across from that. And once you do that, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut an X. Not very big. Once you cut the X, that is what's going to allow your water bottle to go in there like this. So now when you're finished with that, we're going to take our drill, leave the bottle top on because there's air pressure in there, and so it makes it a little bit easier for it not to collapse. You're going to take your drill, and you or your adult helper is going to take the drill, and they're going to make a hole in the back of it. They're also going to make a hole on the top. And so you can hit the middle because there's a little thing that shows you kind of where the middle is on there. Once you have those, you're done with your drill. So you're done with this part, and you want to work on now on the little wattle part back there, the little feathers. And so what you do for that is you're going to take, I would go up to the first little indentation here. I would take my box cutter, make a little slit in there, and take my scissors and cut that out. So you want to keep that part because that part is what's going to help to keep this strong. You're going to put it back inside of it, and that will give you some structure inside of there. So once you have that cut, what I did was to make it real easy to have even pieces, those little lines that run up the middle, I cut right in the middle of it to get 6 pieces. So each one of those, I cut right in the middle of it. And if you'll look, once you do that, that will give you only 3 pieces. And I have 6 on mine. So what I did was I went to the middle of each one of those and I cut up there. Now you're only going to cut up to this line up here. Don't go all the way to the top. You're going to cut up here on each one of them, and that will give you 6. And it also gives you more or less even, where you don't have to go through and measure it. And then you want to come through and make your little wings come out. It may take you a minute to really get this to stick. So you just have to keep doing it. You just got to get that plastic to stay. And remember that you're going to use your bottom, and you can hot glue that in if you want. I didn't really hot glue mine. I was able to get it to really stick, but you want to make sure not to go past that line when you're cutting, and that will help. So then you're going to get it like that. Before you put this inside part in, you're going to paint everything. So what I did was I painted mine brown. And let me put this in here so you can see what it's going to look like. You'll have the top on it. And now you've got your feathers and you've got your turkey body. You just have to keep messing with it. So let me show you on mine. What I did on mine is I painted the whole thing brown. I painted the whole thing just one color brown. And then turkeys, they have these feathers that kind of like, if you look at them, you see a lot of the shape of the feathers. And so I took my brown and I added black to it. And then I first went through and I made those little lines. And I did that all over. And then I went through with a white, and then I just kind of did little accent parts on it. You don't have to go through all that trouble. I wanted it kind of to look like a wild turkey. So what I did was looked at the pictures of wild turkeys, and then I kind of painted my feathers to look like theirs. So you'll notice on here, the white tips, well, they're kind of cream. I didn't use white. I added a little bit of brown to my white. And then I did the dark stripe, and this was looking at the wild turkeys, because wild turkeys are a little bit different from Thanksgiving turkeys. In fact, let me just say to you, the coloring's a little bit different. The wild turkeys, they're a little bit taller, they're a little bit slimmer. Turkeys that end up on your Thanksgiving table are domesticated, and they're bred to have bigger breast area. And they have shorter feet, and they're much heavier, and they make a lot of noise. Can you imagine making a lot of noise out in the wild? You would tell every predator out there where you're at. So wild turkeys, they don't do that. Wild turkeys fly, domesticated turkeys do not. So the turkey that ends up on your Thanksgiving table usually is a domestic turkey, and they don't fly. But wild turkeys can fly. They can run up to 12 miles an hour. These guys are really, really fast. And then that allows them to take off. So they're able to fly. They can fly for to 200 yards. They don't go really far up. But one of the reasons that turkeys can fly is because at night they have super good eyesight and super good hearing. This is what allows them to be able to avoid predators. But at night they don't have really good vision. So at night they will fly up to the trees and they'll sleep in the trees. Do you know that? Turkeys sleeping in trees? I think it's just silly. I love it. So this I did not know about wild turkeys. So now you know some things about wild turkeys that other people don't know. They have really good hearing. They have really good eyesight, but they can't smell very well. Now if they could smell well, they probably would never ever get caught. But wild turkeys are different. They're the same. They have the same genes. They come from the same gene pool as domesticated turkeys, but they're very, very different. So my little turkey here is based on the wild turkeys. It's got the blue around its eyes. It's got its little the red little hunkle here, and you don't have to go through all this detail. If you do, I would look at pictures of wild turkeys and then just kind of do like what I did. Did brown, then I did like added some black to my brown, and I made my little feather lines, and then I came back with my white and I made white feather lines. And then if you notice, remember I told you in the beginning that you want to do it opposite of this line that goes down, and that's because if you want to duplicate what I did, I started my beak. This is like halfway down my beak. But this is how I knew where to go with my beak, and then I went all the way down with the red until it hit this almost this last line here. So that kind of gives you the spacing that you need, and then I just put a little bit of blue on each side. So that's pretty much all I did. Now if you want to get a little fancier with it, you can put some googly eyes on it. I said that feathers were optional, and that's because, let me show you what they would look like with feathers. That's kind of, turkeys do not have bright feathers. They do not want to get caught out in the wild. But this is our turkey spinner, so we can do whatever we like with it. We are going to do some feathers and see how that looks. Just because just because. That's artistic license. You can do what you want as an artist. You can decide to change things up a little bit. And these, when they're in the wind, they really catch the wind really nice. And so now you also have a weather vane. Now you have something that's going to tell you in which direction the wind is running. So it's kind of like, it's art, but it also serves a purpose. And this is our purpose with it. Last one, and then you can see kind of how the turkey spinner is going to look. Don't put yours on with tape. I'm just putting mine on with tape to show you. If you're going to put feathers on them, make sure that you hot glue them. Now, this is not going to last forever. That's okay. It's really just for fun. And instead of just having decorations that's out in your front, now you have something that is lots of fun and also moves. See that? I kind of like it with the feathers. It's a little bit sillier. And the turkey will turn, it will spin, which is why I called it a turkey spinner, whenever the wind comes by. Ooh, I almost forgot. You want to make sure that whatever you get, I like the hanger wire, it's really strong, but it's thin enough to go through my holes okay, and it's very pliable. So I undid this. You just have to untwist it, and then you can just straighten this out. You can either straighten it out by hand or take your pliers and straighten it out. And what I did was I cut part of this off. So any metal, it's easier to cut if you twist it back and forth, cause some friction, get it hot. So twist it back and forth, and then cut it. And when I did my bottle, remember I told you I made those holes bigger than bigger than the holes bigger than the wire, and that is because you have to stick the wire in, and if they're the same, it won't twist. It has to be able to twist. So once you figure out where your little stopping point is, you can either, if you don't have beads, you can just put hot glue. And if you have beads, it's better, and I'll tell you why, because beads are rounded. And so if you have beads, it will just slide along there. That little indentation will slide along there, makes it easier for it to go round and round. But if you don't have that, you can just put hot glue. So you can put a piece of tape, know where to glue it, then once it's glued, put your bottle through there to the other side. It's easier if you take that top off and put it through the top. And then once it's shut and you know you have it where you want it, then you put another one on top. Now, what I will say to you is leave a little bit of room, because if you put this on too tight, it's not going to spin. So you want to make sure when you put your glue on that it's not touching your top, and that it's sitting right at the very, very edge of it with a little bit of, I always give it a little bit of space just to make sure it's going to be able to spin. Because part of the fun is seeing that turkey just go round and round when the wind's really going. It's really, really silly. So now you know how to make the body, you know how to mount it on the wire, and the decoration is totally up to you. You do not have to decorate like mine. You can just make yours brown, and you can add all kinds of color to it if you want. You could make a different colored turkey. It really doesn't matter, the fun in it. What I really wanted you to get was kind of the mechanics, how you would make something like this where it would spin, and also learn a little bit about turkeys. So I hope you enjoyed that turkey craft. Silly turkey. I mean, look at him, he's just dancing around. Can you imagine in your yard? I really enjoyed this project, doing it for you. I hope that you get to do it at home. I hope that see these all over Houston in front of people's yards. And now you also will have a weather vane, tells you which way the wind is blowing. So that's a great project. And also, you know stuff about turkeys that maybe other people don't know. So I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I will see you later.